Hi everybody, it's Nikki here and welcome to a bookish video. So today I have my June reading wrap up. We're a bit late. Oh, we're not too bad. This is the video where I talk about all my feelings and emotions and thoughts about the books that I read in the month of June. I will not be giving synopses because I try to give those in either book hauls or in my Bookgammon TBR game videos. So these are just my thoughts and opinions on them. So if you want to know the synopsis for these, just look them up on Goodreads or even Amazon or anywhere that sells books and type in the title and it'll come up with the synopsis for you. So let's get straight into it. I will give you all the statistics and everything at the end because the way I do take my statistics, some of them may be spoilers for what I read. So let's get started. First of all, we have Shatter City by Scott Westerfeld. This is the second book in the Imposters series, which is a kind of continuation or set in the same world as his Ugly series. And these events are happening, I think it's about 10 years or so after the events of Uglies, or the last book in the series, which was Extras. But yeah, I've been thoroughly enjoying these. I gave this one 5 stars, absolutely loved it. But is that any surprise because Uglies is my favourite series of all time? My notes say, feels like emoji implants, like a drug. More rebel attacks and rescues, the imposter losing herself. Yes, in this one, we have an implant in people's bodies where when you touch it, it's basically like a control pad and you can touch it and it has like emoji smiley faces or emoji sad faces to make you feel emotion. So if you're feeling a little bit scared, you can tap on the emoji for no fear and suddenly you will stop being afraid. Mind-blowing. Because that's what I love about the Ugly series and about this Imposter series, is it's taking things that we know in today's life, in today's world, and it's making them sci-fi. It's taking them to the next level in this scientific world, and it's phenomenal. I absolutely love it. I really enjoy the story that we're getting. And yeah, in here, the imposter is losing herself through this imposter, through this emoji feels control pad. And it was just brilliant. And I cannot wait to see where the third book goes next. I'm hoping to read it very, very soon. But yeah, absolutely loved it. 5 stars. The next book I read was actually an e-arc from NetGalley. So thank you very much to the publishers and NetGalley for allowing me to have access to this book. And that was the Empress Crowned in Red, book 2 to the Witches Steeped in Gold series by Shannon Smart. I believe it's only a duology, actually, not a series. Depends what you call a series. I gave this one 3 stars. My notes say the characters were good, plot was good, action lacked details, so would miss what happened. Yeah, there was a particular fight scene, and it was literally the fight scene and the events that happened were pretty much over within half a page. And then all of a sudden, they were upset about somebody being killed. And I was like, who got killed? And I had to literally go back, scroll back through the e-arc to reread the whole section again, because what I read, nobody died. Did I miss something? And this is the problem that I had with Witches Steeped in Gold. The story itself is really interesting, but it's just, I just felt like it was lacking in details, or too detailed that you missed the point. It was like not enough, or too much. It was never, it never felt like it was just the perfect amount of information that you were getting. I know a lot of people struggle to read Witches Steeped in Gold, and I did at first. I actually DNF'd it the first time I tried to read it. And then I picked it up for a second time because I felt like maybe the first time I was reading it, maybe I wasn't in the right mindset, but I did think that the story had potential. So I picked it up a second time and I really pushed through. And on that second reread, because I did start from the very beginning again, I didn't start from where I'd stopped. Because I was rereading that first part, the details were starting to settle into my brain, and so I was able to understand it better. And I feel like Empress Crowned in Red is probably going to feel very similar, that if I was to reread it, it would have more of an impact, because it's just either too detailed or not enough. And it was just, I was missing bits, and because I was missing bits, I felt lost, I felt confused. And because I was reading it as an e-arc as well on my phone, which is pretty small, I don't have it close by, but it's pretty small, it's only an iPhone 11, like I was struggling with it. So it only got 3 stars. I have no intention of purchasing a copy for myself. But I'm glad that I was able to finish the duology. So that's that one. The next book I read was my buddy read with Charlotte. However, she was going through a bit of a reading slump, so she took a bit longer to read it. But I finished Defy the Night by Bridget Kemmerer. This is one of her newer series, start of a new series anyhow. And my notes for this one say, when it's good, it's perfect. But when it's not good, it's, oh dear me. I'm reading a book. Does that make sense? Now, Bridget Kemmerer is one of those authors for me where I feel like she has brilliant ideas. Like her ideas and plots in books are really good. But where she struggles is the actual writing, the actually putting it down on page. And I can understand this, because I feel like that's my problem with my writing. I feel like it's all stuck in here, and I struggle to get my ideas for stories. I have hundreds of ideas for stories. I struggle to get them down on page because they just don't come out the way that they are in my head. And I feel like Bridget Kemmerer is like that. But I mean, I love Bridget Kemmerer for actually getting out there and writing, because she's at least one step ahead than I am, so she's a lot braver than me. And I do want to keep supporting her and purchasing her books and reading her books, because I feel like with the right editor, with the right support, she will get there and she will be a brilliant writer, because as I say, her ideas and thoughts are amazing. Her execution, not so much. And I'm not the only one to say that. A lot of people have agreed that the Cursebreaker trilogy, the first book is brilliant. The second book is in my opinion, just as good. But the third book really let that trilogy down, and a lot of people agree with me on that. And I don't know, I love her books, but I'm going to keep trying to read them, and I'll keep trying to support her, because I feel like I connect with her as a writer. You know, she has the ideas, she has really great ideas. She just needs more practice at the execution. So I gave this 4 stars. The next book I read was a short graphic novel, and this is Together by Luke Adam Hawker. And for this one, my notes just say a nod to the COVID-19 pandemic, but using a storm instead. Cute and wholesome. Yes, this was brought out as part of like the pandemic sort of thing, and it's kind of like to showcase, you know, everybody being stuck indoors, not being allowed to go out. But in this one, it's because there's a big storm coming and nobody is allowed to go out. And you've got this beautiful picture that has like the cross there for the NHS and that sort of thing. So it's, in a way, it's kind of portraying the COVID-19 pandemic, but through a storm instead of the pandemic. And it was really cute and wholesome. If you like stories like The Fox, the Horse, the Boy and the Mole, whatever it's called, those four, and you like really cute, wholesome graphic novels, this is a really nice one to pick up. It took me moments to read. It really is very, very short, and there's only like 1 or 2 lines on each page, I think. Yeah, 1 or 2 lines. I mean, you got that in there, and then you've got that bit there. That's it. That's all that's on this page. Really quick read. Quite expensive though for what it is. But it was really wholesome, really cute, and for me it's a keepsake for memories of this time. You know, I went through the great COVID-19 pandemic. In about 40-50 years, all right, when I'm 80 or 90, I'm going to be telling my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren about the time. So I gave it 4 stars. The next one I read, I was so excited for this. I really was. This is the Animal Crossing Deserted Island Diary, Volume 1. My notes on this says, bit of fun, but if you've been playing for a while, half is a how to play, which I already know. Yeah, so this is basically a how to play guide for Animal Crossing, which I'm a little bit disappointed at, to be honest. I gave it 3 stars because the artwork is really cute, and you do have some of your brilliant characters in here. But yeah, if you're expecting a actual story set on an Animal Crossing island, you're not going to get this. This is literally a how to play Animal Crossing in manga form. So yeah, slightly disappointed. I was going to purchase the 2nd volume and any future volumes, but I've decided that I'm going to just buy this, have this one as a kind of nod, but I'm not going to pick up any more because I can't see, unless I can have a quick gander through before I purchase the 2nd one to see if there is an actual storyline in the 2nd one. I can't see how they can make more than one of these. So yeah, I gave it 3 stars. The next one I read was Dragonstorm 2, Kara and Silverfeet. As I say, this is book 2 in the Dragonstorm series. This one I gave a 4 stars, and my notes say, a great lesson. You can have more than one friend. Dragons, friendship, found family, thoroughly enjoyable. Yes, each of the Alistair Chisholm books always have a message inside them, and this one was, just because you have a best friend doesn't mean you can't have more friends. But you can have one best friend. And I really like that because I know that my daughter really struggled with this as a child. She came home from school one day and she was really upset because her friend was playing with somebody else and they'd said to her, I can't be your friend because I'm so-and-so's friend today. And I had to try and explain to her, you know, you can have more than one friend. It's not like you're only allowed one at a time. You can have a lot of friends. And then you can have one best friend. You can have 2 best friends. You can have 10 best friends. It doesn't matter. The more friends, the better. And hopefully with children reading these types of books, with these messages in nowadays, hopefully there won't be another little girl out there going home crying today because her friend told her she couldn't play with her today. So I really love these stories. I gave it 4 stars. Absolutely love Alistair Chisholm's books. He's an auto-buy author for me, so of course it was going to be a good book. The next book I read was Assassination Classroom, book 7. My notes for this one says, the class 3E take exams, do well, and have their best attempt to kill Koro Sensei to date. Is this the end? Obviously, I know that it's not, because I have at least 11 volumes of this, and I know there's 20 I've seen, up to volume 20 I've seen. But this one was the best attempt at killing Koro Sensei I've seen in the series so far, so I really enjoyed that. The way that they did it was absolutely phenomenal. I gave it 3 stars. It's very much a 3-star series for me, so yeah. The next book I read was Rainbow Grey, Eye of the Storm. This is book 2 in the Rainbow Grey series by Laura Ellen Anderson. And my notes for this one say, cute, heart-wrenching ending, brought a lump to my throat, great use of weather magic. Yes, of course, this is a middle grade, but this one did deal with some heartwarming, heart-wrenching moments near the end of this book, which really did like make me just kind of have to contain myself for a moment. I really enjoyed the story, and I love these characters in these books. It's such a cute and beautiful illustrated middle grade. Absolutely loved it. We had Gavin again as the librarian from How to Train Your Gavin, so he makes an appearance in the second book as well. This one I gave 4 stars. The next book I read was The Obsidian Butterfly by Lainey Forbes, and my notes for this one is, thought this was a series, so shocked to find it's only a trilogy, but what an ending, brought a tear to my eye, women hold true power. Yes. On the back of it, it says The Age of the Seventh Sun series. Book 3 on this one. So for me, and I questioned some of the ladies from my Waterstones book club about this, for me a series is at least 4 books and beyond, because to me you have a standalone, 1 book, a duology, 2 books, a trilogy, 3 books, a series, 4 books or more. That's how I look at it. However, this is just a trilogy. We started off with the Seventh Son, then we went on to the Jade Bones, and now I finished off with the Obsidian Butterfly. So I was shocked because I was expecting at least 1 more book in this series. So when we were getting close to the end and everything was coming to a big epic battle, I was like, whoa, hang on a minute, like, are we ending here? So yeah, I was very shocked to find this was just a trilogy. That came upon me as quite a shock. But I really loved it. I really love all of the characters in here. Different characters, different romances, different dynamics. We've got brothers and sisters. We've got boyfriend and girlfriend. We've got enemies to lovers. And it's just, I absolutely love this trilogy. It is one of my favourite trilogies I've read in the last few years. It is on my best of best shelf in my bedroom. This will be joining the other 2 that are already there. I really love the vibes of this, because it is all it all has kind of like Mayan, is it based on Mayan like culture and things like that, and the magic system in here, it's just phenomenal. If you were looking for a fantasy trilogy to get your teeth into, the Seventh Son series is just, it's just amazing. I love it. I gave this one 5 stars. Each and every book in this trilogy has been a 5-star read for me, and that's why I recommend this one to anybody who likes that sort of Mayan culture, that kind of underworld culture, and blood magic, water magic, you've got it all, wind magic, everything. Each noble family in this world, in this land, has a different magic that they can kind of call forth by using their blood. So yeah, so it's just a phenomenal trilogy. Kind of sad that it is ended, because I would have loved another book in there, but never mind. I'll just have to reread the trilogy in future time and just relive the whole story all over again from start to finish, because I absolutely love this trilogy. The next book I read was an ebook, and it's called The Raven Spell by Luann G. Smith, and I read this on Kindle Unlimited. My thoughts are dark, gothic, Victorian England, thriller, fantasy, who done it. Excited to read the second book. And I will say that I also read the second book because I got the e-arc from NetGalley, and that's why I was reading the first book, because I'd requested The Raven Song from NetGalley, not realising it was a second book in the duology, so I had to quickly download The Raven Spell, which, no, actually I had already downloaded it from Kindle Unlimited, already thinking that sounded interesting. So maybe that's why anyway. So my notes on The Raven Song was, this is an e-arc, and it's going to be published on the actual book, The Raven Song, which is book 2, will be published on the 11th of October 2022. And this explains more about the sisters' powers, and they move from London to Scotland, and we get more Scottish folklore and myths. But I wanted more romance in the second book. The romance in the first book was fine, but I wanted more romance in the second book. So yeah, the Raven Spell duology, if I haven't explained to you before, this is a story set in Gothic Victorian England. We have two sisters who are running a kind of like a pawnbrokers, Basically, they go mudlarking in the rivers, in the River Thames, and then they sell what they find, basically. And they sell little knickknacks and things like that. But these two sisters actually have powers. One of them can pull memories from the dying or the dead, or recently deceased, and she stores them as little marbles. And one day they, in book 1, they come across a man who is on the bed of the River Thames while the tide is out, and he's dying, and the sister pulls the memory from him, and then they move on and they leave him. But the other sister has powers through her song, through her voice, and she kind of sings to a passing police officer to kind of nudge him over towards the Thames to go and find the dead body. Only the man survives, and he wakes up, and he obviously has no memories now because the sister has taken them. And so we have that going on, but also within the town of London, or the city of London, we have some gruesome murders occurring, and all of it intertwines in such a way that it was really gothic and really atmospheric, and I really enjoyed book 1 so much. I gave it 3 stars, but only because, do you know what I think? I only give it 3 stars because I have no intention of purchasing a copy now, and that for me is a 4 or 5 star book. If I want to purchase a copy of the ebook that I've read, it's a 4 star, but I don't feel the need to purchase a copy, so that's why it only got a 3 star for me. And then, as I say, the sequel, The Raven Song, which I also read in June, I gave 3 stars as well, because again, I don't want to go out and purchase a copy. And I did feel like the romance was lacking a little in the second story, but I really like the Scottish folklores and myths coming through in that second book. So if those kind of things, Victorian England, Gothic, inspire you, the first book will have you sorted, and the second book is Scottish myths and folklore. And yeah, so that's that. The next book I read, I actually listened to the audiobook, and that is Les Mis Volume 1 by Victor Hugo. My notes say, oh boy, do these classic authors love to waffle on. Pot kettle back. Lots of getting to know your characters intimately, and they took the best bits for the musical. Yes, I feel like Victor Hugo really wants you to know his characters. I don't know if this was one of those classics that was released weekly through newspapers, but yeah, definitely going on a lot. For each character, like the priest who gives Jean Valjean the silver candlesticks. In the musical, we only see a small part of him and his life, but in the book, we actually get where he came from, why he's so kind, why he gives to Jean Valjean and everything. It just goes on a lot. It could have been a lot shorter if it had just been like the musical, basically. But I gave it 3 stars. Moving on next, I finally finished the Spellslinger series by finally reading Crownbreaker by Sebastien de Castell. This is book 6 in the series, the final book. My notes say, a good emotional ending to the story, loved the postscript as an added extra, the final battle was worth the wait, Kellen is not the hero. That's the one thing that I got throughout this book. Kellen is not your normal, typical hero in this story. He's very much a flawed character. He makes mistakes. He makes the wrong choices. The battle at the end of this was chef's kiss. Absolutely brilliant. And yes, there is a postscript at the end, which kind of says, you know, I know that you want these characters to go off into the sunset living happily ever after, but hey, here's kind of what I think happens after the end of the story. And you really get some of that sense of humour that Sebastien de Castell really has. When I've heard him talk on author chats and things like that, you really get his sense of humour coming through in that postscript. Absolutely brilliant. I really recommend that if you do get to the end of Crownbreaker and you see that postscript there, that you do actually read it, because it is kind of a continuation of the story, but really well worth the effort of reading and just finishing it all off. So I gave this one 4 stars. I don't know if I'm going to keep the series or not for reread in the future. I'm umming and ahhing about it, but I'm sure I will make a decision sometime in the future. And the last book that I read in June was my Waterstones book club pick. This was Storyland, A New Mythology of Britain by Amy Jeffs. We do have these drawings or paintings, printings, if you will, that were done by Amy Jeffs, using like lino cutting paintings. I was quite interested in this one myself. It had already been on my radar, but unfortunately I gave this a 3 stars, and it's a very low 3 stars because I didn't get this read in time for the book club meetup. I was only about half to 2/3 of the way through. So I finished this after the book club meet, but I'd read enough that I was able to sort of give some of my thoughts and opinions at the meetup, so it wasn't too bad. But this one would have maybe benefited from somebody else coming in to do the writing up of the myths. So each part is starting off with the myth itself, as retold by Amy Jeffs, and then once the story is told, it then goes into that you'll see one of these, and then it goes into how that myth has been connected to the landscape of Britain, where he thinks its origins of it, and it's basically Amy Jeffs talking about that legend, that myth. So what I said at the meetup group, and I once I finished it, I was even more of the thought that Amy Jeff, who is a qualified, she's an artist and art historian specialising in the Middle Ages. She has a PhD in art history from Corpus Christi College in Cambridge. So she's qualified to know what she's talking about. And I felt like the bits where she talks about the myth and how it fits into the landscape, where it comes from, what its origin story is, what its origins might have been, those were very interesting for me. But her actual retelling of the myth was really boring, and I feel like this book would have been so much better if she'd have actually got a second person to come in and write those myths up for her. Somebody who was more used to storytelling, because I just felt like the myth part of the chapters was a little bit stunted and a little bit bland. It felt very much like a university dissertation. That's how it felt like it was reading. Very much matter-of-factly. There was no lyrical prose. There was no... I was bored. The myths bored me. But when she was talking about it, you could see she was passionate about it, and that's when the book picked up again. So it was all over the place for me, in that I was bored of the myths but loved her talking. So it got a 3 stars for me, and I won't be keeping this book, and I am more interested in learning about the mythology of Britain, because I know my Greek mythology, I know my Roman mythology, I know some Norse mythology, even some Japanese mythology and Korean mythology, but British mythology, I'm a little shy of knowing it. So obviously when it got to like Merlin and Arthur, I knew all of that, but most of it. But some of the earlier mythology, I had no idea at all. So yeah, got 3 stars. And that was the last book that I read. I didn't make any notes on it, apparently. I forgot to do that bit. There's always one I miss. Okay, so after going through all of those books, let's go into my wrap-up statistics. So in total, I read 14 books in June. The physical pages I read, so I physically read the book, was 2,891. The ebook pages I read, because I read quite a few ebooks, was 1,302. I'm absolutely over the moon with that number. The audio hours of books that I listened to that I own, because I listened to the audio book of Les Mis, was 34 hours and 59 minutes, and that was just for volume 1 of Les Mis. See what I mean? Waffling. And the audio hours of books that I've borrowed was 0. I didn't have any books that I didn't own. The star ratings, I gave 2 books 5 stars. 5 books got 4 stars. 7 books got 3 stars. And then there were no 2 stars, 1 stars. And I did not DNF a single book. So we had a really good month. The genres or categories of the books that I read no thrillers and no contemporaries. I read 1 classic, 2 middle grades, 3 mangas and graphic novels, 1 non-fiction because I classed Storyland as a non-fiction, even though it's talking about mythology, but I classed it as non-fiction because of the discussion after each story. And then 7 fantasy or sci-fis. The origin of the books that I read, I own 11 and I borrowed 3. The format of the books that I read 10 physical books, 1 audiobook and 3 ebooks. The bindings of those physical books, I had 3 hardbacks and 8 paperbacks. The gender, oh, I haven't filled that in. I had 7 male and I'm assuming 7 female. I haven't checked if any were. I think the reason why I don't have a female number or other was because I didn't know if any of the female authors that I read from identified as LGBTQ or not, but I will have to check that. So let's go into this now. I just noticed another problem I've got. So the longest book that I read was actually Crownbreaker at 504 pages. And the shortest book I read was Together, which was 64 pages. Felt even shorter than that because 1 sentence per page, basically. The oldest book I read was Les Mis, Volume 1. Well, it was translated in 1862, so yeah. And then the newest one I read was The Raven Song, which was book 2 in that duology, because that is not published until the 11th of October this year. Now, I haven't noted down which one was the highest rated or lowest rated on Goodreads, but I will get that information up for you on the screen. The worst book I read has got to be Storyland, A New Mythology of Britain, just simply because I found this such a slog to read. But the best book of the month was, right down at the bottom of the pile, Shatter City by Scott Westerfeld, book 2 in the Imposter series. Am I cheating by choosing a book from a series that I know I already love? No, not really. It was the best book. It was the one that I enjoyed the most. So yeah, Shatter City by Scott Westerfeld. So that is it. That is my wrap up for June. Do you agree with my thoughts and feelings about some of these books? Are you also with the thought of Bridget Kemmerer having really good ideas, just sometimes poor execution of those ideas? I mean, as I say, there are moments in her books where I can see how good she is, and then there are other moments in the book where I'm like, this is not good. I don't know. Do you agree with me? Do you not? But let's have a chat about it all in the comment section below the video. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video.